So hello everyone, once again. Thank you for taking your time to attend today's training. It is dedicated to the topic of how to teach creative writing to your students if you want to help them progress with their writing skills. My name is Margarita, and I am head of curriculum in Engine, so I'm helping creating session plans as well as holding different training workshops for our volunteers and students. Before we get started, I would like to dwell your attention on some of the rules to observe during our training. Please, unless you speak, put yourselves on mute so that not to create extra noise. As I've said before, the webinar will be recorded and will be published on our YouTube channel, so you will be able to refresh your knowledge attained in this training by watching it again. At the end of our training, we are going to have a 10-minute Q&A session. You may also write your questions in the chat along the way, and we will go back to them in our Q&A session. In case after the training you have any questions you would like to clarify, or you need any tips on how to teach certain skills to your learners, you can always reach out to me at the email address indicated on the slide. And we will kindly ask you to fill out the feedback form about our training to help us make our next trainings better. Yeah, and our guest and speaker today is Jennifer. So I'm giving the word to her. She will introduce herself. Our team is really grateful to Jennifer for preparing this training and taking her time to our development. Thank you, Jennifer. So you can start.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. It's nice to meet all of you. And let's see, I purposely didn't write down what to say, I guess, here because, well, I think it's better if I'm just a little free. I've been teaching for a while, and let's see, mostly high school, middle school. I majored in creative writing and English education. I have 3 kids. I'm a single mom. They are 13, 11, and 11. No, they're not twins. Life has been crazy because I think the last thing my parents wanted to hear was that I was went from law to creative writing. It wasn't probably there, especially for my dad who likes math a whole bunch. So, but as it turns out, as life has gone on, I finally get to use my creative writing to help students, and I still write myself, and I still go and send my works out for publishment. Today, I have a couple of objectives, and I hope that, one, everyone learns something, at least something, a takeaway, hopefully more than something, that they can share with their buddy and have success in writing. Number 2 is very important, fun. You have to have fun. It's creative writing. So you can't be you have to have fun. So I think it's, I always tell my students, it hasn't been a good day in the classroom unless somebody is cried laughing, because you have to have fun while you're learning. So I guess off we go. So our very first thing on our agenda, let's see, is, well, getting to know each other, right? But this time, I think getting to know each other should be also a little more fun. So I'm going to ask us to all do our first activity, even though we really don't know each other yet. But that's the perfect time to do it. And with your student, by the way. Although as you get to know your student, the game can change. It's called 2 Truths and 1 Lie. So we're going to get into our breakout rooms, and here's the deal. All right, so I guess moving on, unless, I don't know at this point, I don't think we'll have time to introduce everyone. I'm not sure how many people are here, but maybe we can move on to the next thing. All right, so next one, let's see. Oh, here, by the way, are the instructions. So you can go back and always look Not that you'll probably need them for this one. Oh, P.S. I picked all numbers for our activities today, strangely enough, being an English teacher. Okay, so the question is, what are the challenges you are facing when you're working with your students? I know we must have all different levels of English, all different ages and experiences. So I'd love to hear, what's going on with you guys and how I can help. Anyone at all, feel free.
Well, a question I have about, because my student, when she writes to me, it seems to be very overall pretty good, but I wonder if I told her impromptu, write a little story about this, would it be the same? So I'm thinking maybe that would be, it's harder to do it now because we're working asynchronously because of what's happening in Ukraine. But on a live thing, I could see, knowing how hard it is to come up with two truths and a lie, if they did it more spontaneously, because then you can see maybe where the holdups are, or the inefficiencies, or things that need to be improved.
I think you're right. A lot of my writers, it's kind of weird. Like I deal with the very academic, very rigorous. These kids are going to the Ivy Leagues. I have that kind of group here in Tustin. They're very, very, they also are second language learners, but from Korea mostly. And, but they are, in Korea, you go to your school and then your other school. So you're in school from about 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. usually. And it's a lot. And when they come here, they have already a deficit, being not the first language. So they work pretty hard, and they're very, not used to someone telling them, write whatever you want. And they could do essays all they want, prompts all they want, write very great research papers, but you tell a student, even a great writing student of academic nature, hey, here's 7 minutes. Well, what did I write about? Anything. Make something up. And then it's like, a freak out moment, and they get anxiety. So sometimes look out for that. That happens. Mostly that happens, even to good writers. We have that fear of wanting to be like perfect. So sometimes I make them write, stupid first draft, crummy first draft, to let them know, like, it's okay not to be perfect at first. You just have to try, and only you know the story. And I kind of have a rule, which you'll see is coming up. It's a 7 rule. You can write anything in 7 minutes. I give them 7 minutes to start a story. You'll know in 7 minutes if that story is something you want to write or continue with. 7-minute rule, that's pretty short time to figure something out. From Katie, how to describe exceptions. How to describe the exceptions to our grammar rules. For 2100, you can say 2100 by 400. So, you know what I've included, Katie? I don't know that it covers this, but I can cover this, and I can get something in there if it's not there. Grammar rules, grammar. I have a confession. I graduated high school without knowing what a subject of a sentence was. Most people know that, Jane threw the ball, Jane's doing the action, Jane is the subject. And here I was going to be an English major. I kept getting stuff like, great story, horrible grammar. It was very bad. And I took the SAT before the grammar time. So there was no grammar. So what I do, I put myself through all the college stuff, like all the grammar courses, taught myself. And until I got a perfect on the SAT, I didn't stop. And I think that I was scared of grammar. But now I see it as such a wonderful thing. But here's my worry, and I was saying to Engine is basically people might have a lot of grammar questions. So if that's the case, what I tried to do is I went through almost every grammar subject possible. I tried to, and you'll see at the end of this, there'll be a folder that you have links to, and it has about 120 documents. Some of those documents being entire books of grammar. At varying different levels. It's a compilation of things that I have collected, not everything, but over time. Prompted relationship. Hold on, I see something else. Just assigned my student this game, a solo journey game, prompted role playing. She's doing part of it. I'm doing part of it. So do you recommend, who is this? Let's see. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Chris Larson. Do you recommend this? Is that why you share it with us? Is
Yeah,
working out?
yeah, because we did a Mad Libs last week, and she enjoyed doing that.
I like Mad Libs still.
And then yeah, it was a silly one, but she liked doing that. And this one is pretty easy. And you know, like I said, this one, it's it's prompted, so you sit there and you draw some things from, it's like, okay, he kind of gives you the bounds to do it, but then after that, it's all up to the student to create it. And so it's like, I'm going to do part of it, so it's not all up to you. And we'll see next week if she likes it or not.
Wait, so you have started it, or you hadn't started it with her?
I've done it before by myself, because it's a solo.
Oh, I see.
It's a solo. It's like, you know what, this will actually be good, because her English is pretty good. But there are some little things like, she messes up the articles, there's different little things. And it's actually very formal too when she writes. And it's like, okay, let's see what we can do to kind of break that up a little bit.
Which leads me to, I don't think I have anything about articles in that folder, to be honest, but which leads me to tell you guys, if there is something that you need that you don't see in that folder, goodness knows I have it somewhere. I was a hurried up, like, I'll just put it all in this folder really quick. So just let me know, and I have it somewhere. I have written a couple books on grammar, but it was for a particular school who bought it from me. So I don't really have like a copy right now to share it with everyone, even though he's a very nice person. So I'm currently writing another grammar book that I can just do for myself. So I might even have it in my terms, but a lot of that is just borrowed material from other resources that I have as a teacher and or from other teachers, etc.
Oh, sorry, Jennifer, we cannot hear you now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. So yeah, but let me know if you need a topic from grammar that's not in that folder. I'm happy to get it for you.
Yeah, and there is one person raised the hand. It was, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name, Suzanne. What was your question?
Hi.
If you're still willing here.
Yeah, hi, sorry, I was just trying to write it in the chat. I guess one challenge that I foresee with having a buddy write something like creative writing, like you were talking about your Korean students, is that they might feel stifled about writing correctly, that it might stifle their imagination, or that it might be really difficult for them, and maybe what to tell them. And on the other side too, if you want to correct their writing, within our training, we were really taught to, and I just practice this when I'm meeting with them, not to correct them so much. Like what would you correct, and how delicately would you do that, and kind of pick your battles, that sort of thing. Sorry, it's a long question.
No, I understand. And that's a hard one for me, especially with my buddy in my situation with teaching, because at my school, and I tell my kids, and my kids hate me for this, I'll tell you right now, that anything I teach to a 12th grader, I can teach to a 3rd grader. I might use different terms or different things. There's a series, and I forget what it is, but it's like they have a nuclear researcher come in and discuss this, or a scientist come in and discuss black holes, but at like 3 different levels, to an elementary school, to an intermediate person, or to someone who's even advanced just like them in the same field. And I try to do it that way, but here's the thing. My current buddy, he's an engineer, and he's way better talking than he gives himself credit for. He's way better at English than he gives himself credit for. I'm constantly on him about that to have more confidence. But the one thing he won't do yet ever is writing, because he says that's where his weak point is. And here's this engineer, brilliant, amazing, doing way better than I did in any other second language. So I just, but writing, he says, is a huge deficit, he believes, for most people. So I think I would, kind of depends on the person. I mean, I generally believe that you're cheating someone if you don't teach them something. If you don't give them the chance to at least try, then you bereft them of that skill. Perhaps they'll get it. Because I think even the youngest people aren't given enough credit. But on the same token, you know your student or your buddy more than most. And if they're having a hard time confidence wise and things like that, I think using some caution in certain things, because yeah, it can scare people, truthfully. I feel like I'd rather give them the chance first. I think oftentimes my students surprise me. Does that help?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, I'm glad to help. Yay. I'm glad. And Jane, I think Jane, since Engine is primarily geared towards speaking with our buddies, I've only been focusing on that. I want to see if she's interested in writing, so I guess I need to know how to present. Maybe start with the 2 truths and a lie. When I don't know someone or I don't know if they want to write too, it's kind of a fun icebreaker. And I have a Vegas policy in my classroom, which means what happens here stays here. Unless you killed someone, don't tell me I have to tell someone by law. So it's a fun way to kind of lie and make a comfortable situation where they can really, I don't know, feel comfortable enough to write and own it. So maybe start there. It depends on how old is your buddy, if you don't mind my asking. 22? Yeah, 2 truths and a lie would work. Or maybe some other things that we're currently doing, or just simply like I asked my buddy, hey, do you want to learn writing? Da, da, da. He was like, no, not yet. I'm still working on the speaking. And but yeah, eventually he wants to learn the writing. So I think we're in it for the long haul, and I'm waiting for that day. So maybe just ask, or even better yet, do this like 2 truths, 1 lie, and then ask how she liked the experience.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Any other questions or? All right, so let's go on. So not all of these are going to be ones that I'm gonna send you to a breakout room for. But after, I'll always ask if there are questions. This is one we won't go for. And it's a simple one, anyone can play. It's a story of the day alphabetically. And in a way, I mean, you can do this with any topic, not just the story of the day. So you can start off as a news flash before, attention, because that's an A at least. And then the next person, say I started with attention, that's all. B is your buddy. Your B is maybe beware, there is a, I don't know, tornado of turtles coming. Who knows? And then now you have the C. Careful. Okay, the 777. And my group just brought up a wonderful point. Mink did, and she was saying that she liked it, even though she got like a word that was very negative, like dejected was her word, which forces you to write about that, right? She normally wouldn't choose that word, and I wouldn't either on a good day. But it forces you to write about something perhaps you'd never just care to write about on your own. And she said it forces you down a path. And it's good to explore those paths that normally we wouldn't, whether they be good or bad, or just strange to us sometimes. Because there's always a relation. That's what I tell my students when they're writing their essays, even an essay. How they always say, how do I do the hook? Well, you're an English major. Eventually your professor will tell you, don't do a hook, you're wasting my time. But while you're in high school and middle school, things like that, they want the hook, and you don't want to sound cheesy. For example, like, oh, here's a nice quote from somebody important, or here's a question that's shocking, something like that. I did all those things. I had very strict parents who just wanted to see good grades, and they're right. I mean, they said a B meant I didn't try, and I was like, but a B's good. They were like, no, but they knew me well. Like, it meant that I actually cared if I got an A. I think, and everyone has a different thing, but I actually enjoyed school, and so I guess, but still, I will tell you something I realize now as an English teacher, that my English teachers knew I didn't care about what I was writing, that I was just trying to get the essay done. And the whole reason I know is because the intro will tell you everything about that person and their connection to, and it's not just the thesis. In fact, it's probably not the thesis. It's going to be the thing before the thesis. Like, it's cheesy, it's contrived, it's whatever. So I tell them, make a connection. I mean, for example, I know I'm probably going to have some haters on this one, but I'm not a huge fan of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. I think it should be taken down the school district. I think like things like, who relates, I mean, I think they're being irresponsible, the parents, but it's not a love story. Things like this, but I had to write 1,000 essays about it. So what do I care about it? Like, how can I make myself care? So I find the one thing that I can really connect to and just write naturally. And from there, it'll work to my thesis. So I think writing naturally like that is good, and forcing yourself down paths to make different connections that you didn't realize maybe you had also leads to other connections. So I don't know, I hope you guys had fun. Did anyone have questions with that? Or want to share anything about the experience? Okay, so this one's not breakout room. A moody game with show don't tell. So this is a good way to expand or develop your students' writing. And oftentimes the number one complaint you'll first get with creative writers is this: show don't tell, you hear all the time. What does it really mean? Well, it means like, don't tell us what's happening, let us watch it, let us smell it, let us taste it, but don't tell us about it, just point blank. And so you'll find a lot of times students will make simple statements like, here I put, the boy was angry. He's telling you, he's giving you, or she's giving you information. All right, so you can start asking the W's, like, why was the boy angry? Where was he at? Who was he with? Things about how did he show it, for example, which is a great one, because a lot of like characterization doesn't have to be direct. It can be indirect by using quotes to get to know a character. Instead of saying Veronica was a snob, you could say, okay, well, don't tell me she was a snob, but let me figure it out through her dialogue by what she's saying she's a snob. Let me see a conversation in which I'd be like, ooh, what a snob. And so that's the only thing you can use. Or start making a game of it by having different emotions or different, like maybe very charged words, like worrisome and excited or nervous, and have them randomly pick one and have a dialogue. And you have to pick out the tone of the dialogue, the emotion of the character and what they're feeling, without the person telling you at all. So it's a really good exercise, and always go with like the what, when, where, why, how, if you see they're having troubles expanding upon it. Any questions? My parents tell me I'm a fast talker, so feel free to ask. All right, this is like where I'm from, or I am from, and it's based off a poem, famous one, which I think I mentioned. Yes, I did mention. This is a PDF here, and sometimes if they're very nervous about just starting out to write, here's a piece of paper, write something for me. Maybe this is a good start here too. It's kind of like Mad Libs, but way less, it's not funny kind of thing. It's a more serious way of approaching a poem and about stuff they know. So where I'm from, a specific item from your childhood. I'm from, for example, for me, hula hoops. I loved hula hoop contest. So I would say hula hoops and micro mini machines. Let's see, from two products or objects. Okay, so magic 8 balls, and let's see, categories. It's my favorite game, probably. And then you keep going and you have the person write in things like that. And it's a good way to get to know your students a little more about their past, who they are, how they grew up. And in the end, it turns out written very beautifully. And there's different editions of this kind of format. Some are easier and some are harder. Yeah, Mad Libs are great. I included it at the end, by the way, Bonnie. That there's just their website though. I love Mad Libs personally. But this one's a nice way to do a poem that's just I don't know, it works out beautifully, I guess rhythmically speaking, and also really teaches them to pick up on those details about themselves. People often say, oh, yeah, I grew up with a lot of, I don't know, toys or something, but it's not that. We want to know what toy it is because that will tell us a lot about you. Okay, what else did you do? What were your friends like? Like very specific details. Those are the things that really speak to us, and kind of a non-intrusive way of doing so. So if you hit that link, you'll get this too. Any questions about this one? Oh, I think this is our last one, maybe. The 6-word story. The 6-word story. I played this game with my friends who are not my students, just because we have a really fun, it would just be random. One of us would be like, 6 words on this. We'll just text the other person and it will be anything. And sometimes the point is to make each other laugh when you get to know your friends. Like you just want to make them die laughing because you guys have a lot of inside jokes. But this also works with students. And I actually got published in something like this, a 6-word story, last year. I think it started with, supposedly, I don't know if it's a myth or not, Hemingway, who wrote, I put up here, his 6 words were this: for sale, baby shoes, never worn. Just very sad. So you can break up things. You can use colons, you can use semicolons, periods, it could be whatever, as long as it's just 6 words. And if people start having issues like, well, I don't know what to do, any 6 words even, that's when I start playing topics. And so it says you can also play this game with topics. And so I did motherhood for me in 6 words. 3 kids equals never ending laundry, or getting goodnight kisses from dirty faces. So something like that. You don't have to necessarily be great at grammar, so it takes that pressure off. And you just, write about the topic as you see it. A whole bunch of statements can say a lot. So, okay, next one. Thank you for sharing, by the way, everyone. I really appreciate it. So your victory is my victory. So this is the positive one. It's really neat. Let me take this down. Okay. So in a few words, like you will ask your student to, in a few words, go ahead and write accomplishment down. One more from Sandy. Cart on wheels spinning, oh joy. As long as it's not the lumpy ones, I'll literally walk the whole store to take that one back because I'm not doing it. Like you can't. But this victory, your victory is my victory, is like a good way to also know your student, and also, do something positive, highlight an accomplishment. Also, they get to know you and your accomplishments, or something you're proud of. So something simple or whatever. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I got a 4.6 and something. I would put something like, I won a hula hoop contest, which I did when I was younger, and it's kind of silly, and I had to hula hoop 11 at once, but I would just keep it at like, I won a hula hoop contest. That's all I get. And then you exchange, like, okay, they get mine, I get theirs, with just the simple word. And now I have to turn this into a fabulous story about how this happened. And then you after you read your story or share your stories, you can ask about the real deal, what really happened, and kind of compare your story to what happened to them if you want, or just for fun. It's a good conversation starter. I'm trying to get to this chat here. Oh no, same thing, no one there. Okay, sorry about that. So it's a good way to get to know your student and have fun with, accomplishments without feeling like you're bragging about it or anything. Any questions? Oh, this one is fun. Okay, this one's changed over time. As I told you, most of my students are Korean. My boss has another school in South Korea, and every summer, her 20 best students get to come down and to here and, spend about 1 to 2 weeks, and I teach them. So their English is not nearly as at the level of this, students who've been living here for a while. So I started this one game where, because Korea, I don't know if you've ever seen their soap operas, but if you haven't, you should. They are fabulous. They are so good. And now we have running jokes in my classroom about these things. Like whenever a mom gets upset, she like throws water in someone's face. It's like the classic move. So whenever someone says something like, I tell everyone, turn to page 77, and they're like, excuse me, what page? I'll be like, I'm throwing water in your face right now. And it's kind of a good thing. So what I had them do is we watched a scene, a soap opera, and obviously not English, their soap opera, just one scene. And I asked them, depending upon their level. So these are for like this first up is if they're really struggling to like write and maybe translate, have them watch something in their language and then with no, caption or subtitle or anything. And then have them try to write that script in English, what this person is saying, what this person is saying. But the creative writing aspect is to make it up. So that's one exercise, is to actually translate. The other is to pick something that neither of you know and has no caption, or maybe you can take off the caption. And then you guys either one person writes this role, the other one writes the other, or you guys can just both write your own. So you watch in silence and person A, person B. Usually they just have two people, maybe three in the scene. And you make up what they're saying. You totally fib about it. And it's a good way to do screenwriting kind of for the first time. Also dialogue, imagine what people are feeling, what they'd say. And when things are really heated, that's when all these like idioms start coming out in English, or very like tilted language. So it could be a fun way to introduce them to some slang or some, I don't know, common drama, things that maybe not come up in academic or ESL books. And I don't know, getting used to screenwriting. I also worked for film too, with writing. So it's its own beast, one I just edit for mostly. So any questions on this? Oh, those links to two short scenes, but you can find anything or have several saved. Those are just ones for you guys to play around with. Watching it after too to see what it was really about is kind of funny. So I don't. Any questions? Big advertisement. Pick up anything that's not supposed to be worth anything. So maybe it's oh, here we go. I washed my kid's thing the other day. It was to her shoelace. This is an eyeball. I don't know if you can see, it's a plastic eyeball. One of those that shake around that was in a toy and it came out. Now she does not like me very much. But instead of saying it's an eyeball, maybe like you pick something random, you have to make 3 to 5 false advertisements about it, but really sell your product. Like this is maybe it's like I don't know. Oh, Barbie when she plays air hockey. This is her air hockey puck. One Barbie air hockey puck for sale. Perfect condition, makes cute sounds when she hits it, things like this, where you have to really think outside the box, and it just takes random things. So different uses for things. And, it kind of teaches them it's okay to be silly. And maybe think about how someone bigger or smaller would use it, what value it could have in different ways. Any questions? All right. Next one then. Oh, here. Okay, there's so many. I wish I could have another page on this, and I might add it in the future, but these are just some things. Tried to pick a little bit of everything. Mad Libs, of course. The journal has several just prompts. 53-word monthly contest is free, by the way, for any age, anyone. It's a 53-word story on a theme. Writer's Digest prompts, etc. But if you want more, again, please let me know. I have several. I just didn't want to overload everyone like I did the grammar. So feel free to keep that and click on it. Any questions? Okay, and then, oh yeah, here's that, by the way. So this will lead you to a folder with about 120 or so grammar things. And some of them are books. Some of them are advanced for SAT and stuff, but I try to get varying topics and levels. Let me know if I'm short of anything. I think that's it though. Sure. Suzanne wants to go back to the last slide for a couple of seconds. Oh, and also we're going to make this available as well. So that way you guys can keep this, and I will keep my folder open it's on my OneDrive. I'll keep it open, and I'll even add more material as time goes on, especially if it's a request. Who is this one, right? The one after this one. And again, if you want more resources, these are just very few, I swear. There's so much out there. It's a lot. And a lot of international competitions too, and just, publishers. I mean, I always tell my students, like, why enter these? Why try to get published if you're just trying to write? Well, two birds, one stone. What if it works? My students are surprised how much they get published. I think people think they're not worthy or they're not good a writer, but we all have our own experience. You'll be surprised. And, it makes them think that they can still write more, and they can. I think everyone's experience is pretty valuable. So I encourage these competitions and, literary magazines. Any questions? Anytime, no problem.